Hey, what's up guys? Ben Clark here for Adapt to Perform. In today's video I'm going to show you how I transfer in and out of my car. Okay, so the reason I wanted to do this video was because I see a lot of transfer videos getting in and out of the car across the whole of the community, and this is great, it's great seeing these, but quite a lot of them just show you doing it, and a few of them explain sort of how to do it. But what I want to do is show you how I do it safely. So I've sort of made it in a way that it's really not stressful on your shoulders, and it means that you can do this long term without having to find other solutions down the road. So hopefully you might learn a few things here, and you can transfer in and out of the car and do it safely at the same time. So let's get on with the video. Okay, so first of all, I chose my car pretty wisely. I got a car that has keyless entry. So if I pause it here, you'll see that I just put my hand up against the handle and it unlocks as long as I got my key on my person. So I normally have it either as a lanyard around my neck or I put it in the back of my wheelchair. So this helps without, because I haven't got the hand function, I'm not fiddling around with my keys trying to get it in and unlock it, which, especially when it rains and such, you want to get in the wheelchair, you want to get the wheelchair in the car as quickly as possible. So having this definitely helps a lot. Also, it's got really big doors, so if I continue here, that you'll see it, which really helps with the transferring and pulling the wheelchair over. Now onto the transfer itself. First thing I do is like to put my feet on the floor. This gives me a nice stable base from what to transfer from. I then shuffle forwards a bit and I keep 3 points of contact throughout the whole thing. So I've got the feet on the floor, I've got the hand on the wheelchair, and I've got the hand on the chair in the car. I sort of pull myself across and I land on the bolster of the car, and then I shuffle myself in. Now, for the first part of this, I like to keep my legs out. That's why I do the transfer first with my legs out of the car, just so I'm not twisting my body, as we'll see in a minute, while I'm under my chair. So we pause here again. If I have my legs in the car now and I'm doing this part, I'm having quite a big twist in my spine, and that's not going to be great. And it does put pressure on your shoulders quite a bit. So having the legs out, staying out of the car actually does help with long-term shoulder health. So now I take off the brakes and I'll wheel it around a bit, and I've got the first sort of adaptation to my wheelchair that I'm going to show you here that helps out a lot. Now what these are is a tetra axle. So rather than the usual button that you push in to get the wheel off, it's like a little ring with a flap, and you flap that up, and it's almost like the button is pushed in the whole time. So what that does is means that I can have the button pushed in and I don't have to think about that. And then I can take the wheel off, say using both hands, which makes it a lot better because I haven't got that hand function. Once I've got one wheel off, now I either leave the wheel right there and I put my legs in, or I like to put one wheel across and then put my legs in. Either way is fine. And because the next part I'm going to have my legs in the car to do, because it makes it easier for the second part. So moving on now, so I'm going to get legs in. Once my legs are in as well, I like to cross them. This makes life a little bit easier. For when I'm driving, it's a bit more stable. So you see here, I now put the wheel on the back seat, and then I grab the other wheel. Now the wheels are really light, so it's not too much of an issue with the twisting and that. You see one more time here with the flips, the flappy bits. So I flap that bit out, and the axle, and I can pull it off a lot easier. So I can have one hand on the chair stabilizing that, and one hand on the wheel, and you'll see here a lot easier, a lot better how it comes out. So pulling that out, and then pulling the wheel off. So I can just focus on pulling that wheel off rather than faffing around with the button, which makes life a lot easier. Then I say my legs go in, I like to cross them over. This just gives me a bit of stability whilst I'm driving, and then pulling that wheel over. Cool. And then just one more time showing you. So what I do once the wheels are in, I put them on the back seat. I've got the back seats down here just for filming purposes so you can see, but usually I have that one seat up and then put them on that seat, and then just put them on top of each other. This keeps them out of the way and nice and secure and stable. So you can see here, it depends on how quick I want to be. So if it's raining, I put one wheel on the passenger seat first, get in, and then put the other wheel on the back seat, and then put both on the back seat. But if it's nice and sunny like it is when I'm filming this, I just put the seats I put the wheels straight on the back seats through there, just because it's a little bit slower, but if it's raining, I want to speed it up as such. So yeah, now, right, let's move on to this bit. So this is the bit that's nice and safe and like to help you with your long-term shoulder health again. So I'm making sure that I'm doing this part step by step. So first thing I do is roll it up. I'm using the wheels sort of as a way to support the weight. So I'm not lifting the weight too much the whole way through. So the first step is to put the rear axle up onto the door frame. Then from there I put my hand underneath, one hand on the back, and then I pull it up onto my lap. And then pause there for a sec. Now you can see here why I need that big door gap. You know, I've got the Tetra grip on my steering wheel. Luckily I've got electric seats, which is another thing that I would recommend, especially if you're Tetra. So you can put that seat all the way back, and you've got maximum room between your chest and the steering wheel. Now the Tetra grip does remove, but it's quite difficult to get on and off by myself, so I leave it on, and I've got that big gap anyway. I've got the big doors, and it really helps getting that wheelchair in and out. So just take it step by step. So it goes from the door frame up onto my lap, then over to the middle, then over to the other side. And then I'm trying to use both hands throughout that whole process. Once it's there, I just rotate it round, and then that is fairly secure. And I've got a nice big door strap that I just pull it in. So one more time here. So I put it up, over, and then across. So I'm using two hands the whole time. I'm not using one hand to lift, because then that's just put strain on one shoulder in particular. If I'm using both hands to support that weight, it really helps out. Oh, we've got one more as well here. So here they go, up onto the door frame, then up underneath, onto there, and then see it's a little bit tricky sometimes because of that Tetra grip's in the way, but just sort of wiggle it around, then pull it over, and then everything falls out the back of my wheelchair. So there I didn't use two hands as much, but if you can, or where you can, use those two hands. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the reverse of this. Now, getting the wheelchair out of the car is what I consider the hardest part of it, but what you're doing is exactly doing it in reverse. I've always taken a lot slower, and I find it a little bit more tricky just because of the balance of the wheelchair that you'll see in a minute. So first of all, what we want to do is literally take the frame of the chair out in exactly the same way as we put it in. So twisting it around, using two hands the whole time, hands underneath, and then sort of resting on your lap. You see there it gets caught a little bit on that Tetra grip. We're just getting out there, and then resting on the door sill, and then using that bit there to put it back down the floor. You see here again, so pushing the door open, and with the wheelchair I've got two hands on, one on that frame bar underneath, one on the foot plate, and then just resting, and then just shuffling my hands around, and then giving it a bit of a wiggle because it gets caught sometimes. There you go. And then wheels on the floor here, and then using those wheels just to help roll it out and onto the floor. Okay, so once you've done that, we're going to get the wheels out the back, but we are just going to put them on. So wow, I put one outside normally, and then one on the passenger seat. So there you go, one outside, one on the passenger seat, just so, because the next part I'm going to get my legs out, and I don't want to be rotating all the way around to get the second wheel out the back. So here we go, so feet out. Yeah, and one more time here with the wheels. So just one wheel out like that, and then one wheel. I got both wheels out on that side there. That's fine. I say either way, if it's raining, then I'll probably get the two wheels on the passenger seat ready so they don't get too wet. But if it's nice, then I'll probably just get one wheel out and then have one wheel there. But either way is fine. It's just personal preference all the time. So you see how I shuffled right the way forwards on the chair, and I'm right up onto the bolster. What this does is help me move that chair around without getting too injured. So if I was sat back in the chair right now, I'd have to stretch a lot further forwards, and I'm lifting the frame up and moving it around, and that's going to cause issues long term. So what I like to do is flip it. Specifically, I flip the wheelchair onto this side. You'll see why in a moment, but yeah, specifically this side is what's important. My keys just fell out there, so I just pull this back in, get that other wheel, and then I haven't realised at the moment, but I've left the brake on here, and that's something, if you are struggling to put the wheel on, your brake might be on. I do realise it eventually. But again with the flaps, so Yeah, there we go, taking the brake off now. So you see the Tetra thing, I flip it up and I wiggle it in and that wheel goes in. Now this is why I put it onto this side. I like to lift it up, and then what I'm going to do is lean it against the door. Now what this does is means that the wheelchair stays nice and still while I'm getting the other wheel, and it's not going to move at all. So it's nice and stable there, getting the other wheel, and it's up on its side, which means it's really easy to get that wheel on. So just putting the wheel on now. So yeah, again, you see where my lack of grip comes in there. It's all a bit wobbly, but that Tetra grip really helps out. If I had to push that button in at the same time, like on a regular one, it'd be a lot harder. And I just wheel the wheelchair into the position, put the brakes on, and then again, 3 points of contact, one on the wheelchair, on there, and you can see my bum came out as well. And just putting the wheels, my feet on the wheelchair itself, and then. So you have it, guys. That's how I transfer in and out of my car nice and safely. Now, as I said in the video, I do this lots and lots. I go in and out of my car plenty of times a day. I'm doing it every day as well. So making sure I'm doing this nice and safely and better for my shoulders is really great for long-term health. If you did like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what you thought about it. If you want to see any more, if you want to see how I drive, make sure you let me know that down below too. But for now, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.